I never thought moving into a quiet suburban neighborhood would come with so much stress. When I bought this home, I imagined peace, friendly neighbors, and the kind of safety people brag about when they say they live in a community. What I didn't realize was that this so-called community was tightly controlled by an HOA board that acted less like neighbors and more like prison guards. The trouble all started with my dog, Max. He's a golden retriever, sweet, calm, and friendlier than most humans I know. He hardly ever barks, except when the mailman comes around or when kids on bikes speed down the sidewalk. That's it. He's not aggressive, he's not loud, and he's definitely not the kind of dog you'd complain about. But one morning, I came home from work and found an envelope taped to my front door. I thought maybe it was a package slip or a notice from the city. Instead, it was a violation letter from the HOA. The bold red print read, "You have been fined $100 for violation of community noise policies, excessive dog barking." I stood there on my porch, completely stunned. Max had barked maybe once or twice that week. How could they possibly call that excessive? My stomach dropped as I read further. Failure to pay this fine within 10 days will result in additional penalties, including possible legal action. Legal action? For a dog bark? I felt my hands shaking as I crumpled the paper. This had to be a mistake. The next day, I went to the HOA office, determined to clear things up. Behind the desk sat a woman named Karen. Yes, literally Karen, with a smug expression and a thick binder of rules in front of her. "I think there's been some kind of error," I said, holding up the letter. "My dog doesn't bark excessively. He barked once at the mailman, maybe twice. That's it." Karen didn't even blink. "We've received complaints," she said flatly. "Several residents reported your dog barking." "Complaints from who?" I asked. "Because my neighbors love Max. He's never been a problem." She tapped her nails on the desk and gave me a condescending smile. "Complaints are anonymous. We take them very seriously." Anonymous? Of course. That meant anyone. Someone with a grudge, someone who just didn't like me, could say anything and the HOA would believe it. I tried to reason with her. "There has to be proof. Do you have video, audio, anything?" Karen shook her head. "We don't need proof. Resident complaints are enough." That's when I realized this wasn't about noise. This was about power. I left the office fuming, determined not to pay the fine. I thought maybe it would blow over. But 3 days later, I got another letter. This one was even harsher. "Your failure to pay has resulted in an additional $200 fine. You now owe $300. They had tripled it. At that point, I started to feel like I was in a trap. They weren't going to let this go. They wanted me to break. They wanted me to just hand over the money to avoid the stress. But I wasn't about to back down. That night, I decided to test something. I set up a small security camera in my living room, pointing out the window where Max usually sat. If he barked, I'd have proof of how little had happened. For 2 full weeks, Max barely made a sound. I collected hours and hours of video footage showing him quietly napping, wagging his tail, or watching the world go by in silence. And yet, the letters kept coming. $500, $800, $1,000. Every time I opened one, my heart raced. They were stacking fake fines on top of each other like a game, pushing me toward collapse. Finally, I decided to fight back. I gathered my video footage, printed out every letter, and even got written statements from my actual neighbors, the ones closest to my house, who confirmed Max wasn't a nuisance. Then I showed up at the next HOA board meeting. The room was packed. Neighbors, board members, and of course, Karen, who sat in the front row with her arms crossed like she was waiting to crush me. When my turn came, I stood up. My voice was shaking at first, but then I felt anger steady me. I've been fined over $1,000 for a dog who doesn't even bark. I have hours of footage proving Max is quiet. I have neighbors willing to testify he's not a problem. So I want to know, where's the proof against me? The room went silent. Karen's smug smile faltered. She stammered something about multiple complaints, but I could see the other board members shifting uncomfortably in their seats. One of them, an older man named Mr. Lawson, finally spoke up. "If there's no proof, and if this resident has evidence to the contrary, then these fines aren't valid. That's when I dropped the biggest bombshell. I've already spoken to an attorney, I said firmly. And if these fines aren't dropped immediately, we'll be filing a lawsuit for harassment and abuse of power. The room buzzed. Whispers spread. Karen's face went red. She opened her mouth to argue, but Mr. Lawson cut her off. Enough, he said sharply. This matter is closed. All fines are dismissed. I can't explain the relief I felt in that moment. Months of stress, intimidation, and threats, all erased with one sentence. I walked out of that room feeling lighter than I had in weeks. But here's the twist. After the meeting, several neighbors came up to me quietly. They admitted they had been too scared to challenge the HOA themselves. They had been fined for little things too, trash cans left out too long, flowers planted without approval, even kids' toys left in yards. The board had been running the neighborhood like tyrants, and everyone was too afraid to speak up. That's when it hit me, this wasn't just about Max. This was about all of us. The HOA thrived on fear. They counted on people folding under pressure. But the second you stood your ground, the power shifted. So here's my advice. If you ever find yourself in a fight like mine, don't give up. Document everything. Collect evidence. And don't let them intimidate you into silence. Because sometimes, standing up for yourself doesn't just protect you, it inspires others to do the same. And if you've ever had a crazy HOA experience like mine, you know just how far they'll go to push you around. If you want to hear more wild stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with a friend. Because trust me, the stories only get crazier from here.